Welcome to the DWRDNET Stationery feed with your host, Derek DeWeese. This is a podcast where we talk about all things stationery, be it fountain pens, pencils, typewriters, papers, and more. So sit back and relax and enjoy this week's episode. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 of the DWRDNET Stationery feed. Today I get to welcome Diana of Moth and Maple to the show. Welcome, Diana.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So let's go on and get started with our level setting questions that I ask all of our guests. So to start out, what got you into the pen and stationery hobby to begin with?
I first started with bullet journaling, and it was helping me through some sort of tough times just to kind of keep everything organized and focused and a place to kind of dump thoughts. And then I stumbled on some YouTube videos with talking about fountain pens, and it was like unlocked this core memory of my uncle way back when I was very small would let me play with his fountain pens. And I was like, oh, I need to get one of those. And so I got one, and it's just been down a massive rabbit hole ever since.
I can fully relate. It seems like most people, once they try the first one, that's the gateway pen, and then it's going to go completely downhill. But so you said, how long ago was that ballpark?
That was in very, very early 2024.
Okay. So you're relatively new overall to the hobby, but as we'll talk about later, you're fully in. You're fully committed to the hobby by now.
Yeah. And I've done like watercolor and all that kind of stuff for a long time too. So the inks, moving into that was very simple kind of sidestep. So it felt fairly natural just deep end it.
No, it makes sense. So, well, what do you currently have inked? What are you currently writing with?
My favorite pen of all time, and my like grail pen, is my Aurora 88 Volterra, and that's inked right now with Mont Blanc Toffee Brown because my good friend Derek recommended that ink, and it's amazing, and it looks really good in that pen. So that's my favorite one to write with. And then I've got a whole bunch of maker pens that I've got over time, and at the Chicago show I picked up a Monarch from Ian, and it's awesome. So there's, I have lots of really good maker pens too. So I always have at least 15 inked typically, and I go back and forth during the month.
Yeah, the Monarch is one that I've tried writing with many people, different versions of it, some with grinds, some stock. It's intriguing, but with my small writing, I still can't bring myself to getting something like that and then probably needing it ground. So someday, but
yeah. I feel like mine was actually in Ian's pen, and he let me buy it from his pen at the show, and it does seem to write finer than the other ones I've written with. So I don't know if it's fine enough for like ultra extra fine, but it is finer than just a regular standard.
No, it's one of those that I'll always be on the lookout for. And like I said, someday I will have one join the collection in some format or another. But in terms of inks, are you generally a bottled ink, or do you use anything with cartridges?
I typically do bottled inked because I like to paint with it too. But if I'm using one of my pilots, I will use a syringe and fill a cartridge because those converters are not my favorite. But yeah, so I typically will fill from bottles for the most part.
Yeah, I was almost always bottle until recently. I've gotten some more of the metal Kavecos, and I've started adding more cartridges in than I ever would have thought. And then the Pilot Elite that I got in Arkansas this year, that's been a cartridge exclusive with Yamabudo pretty much since I got it.
That's our pen we got that matched, right?
Yeah.
I've got
Silver Elite,
the Pilot Sepia cartridge in that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and you said, that was pens. How many inks do you have?
Can I plead the fifth? No, it's I have a lot. Again, I paint with them, and my whole family, except for they get stashes of samples and stuff, and we've actually been selling samples too. But I have about 250.
Okay. See, and I recently on one of my streams got my fountain pen companion up to date, and I'm right under 200. I think I'm at like 185, 189, something like that. So that seems to be, if people who are in the hobby, that's kind of a normal-ish number, honestly, because by the time you get stuff, when you first get started, that might not be your favorite, and then you add in others or you find similar things, or for some people who use shimmers and whatnot, those numbers can easily grow pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what about paper? What are some of the papers that you like writing on?
So Tomoe River is my favorite. which I use a Hobonichi now, Cousin all the time for everyday stuff, and then I've got several of their notebooks. And then I've also recently started using the Crenna Spark paper, which I really like when I like the crinkle. So anything that has to be thinner. I don't like real thick paper. Um, and I have just got some onion skin, but I haven't really played with it too much yet. But I like anything that gets crinkly, so onion skin seems like it's a lot of fun.
No, I'm a big fan of the Carina Spark. It comes with the Me Plus
Yeah,
binders. That's an easy place to get it. Actually, one of the only places I can think of to easily get it. But
you
I
can
use that
you can
in
get it
my
at Info in Australia now.
gotcha. I use that in my narrow Me Plus and my A5 plotters and whatnot. That's been a common go to. And then generally, I prefer thicker papers like Grafilo or Usari, but for some reason, the Carina has really been a
Yeah,
good go to kind of utility paper for me.
yeah. It
But
swatches really nice. All the properties of the inks show up really well. Yeah, it's a nice one.
And then my favorite question I love asking everybody is what is your favorite stationery adjacent item? And by that I mean a bag, a case, a lap desk, a book weight, something that's not pen, paper, or ink that you use all the time.
Have a rickshaw bonsai bag that I use. I mean, I've almost turned it into like my everyday carry bag for everything. It's just like the perfect size for, to stuff an A5 journal in and their pen case and, wallets and whatever else you need. It's really good.
No, and that makes sense because actually my wife, she uses a bonsai as her purse.
Yeah.
She got one of the ones from Vanessa with the Lay Reyes pattern, and that is her purse. So it makes perfect sense. But let's move into the main topic. So Moth and Maple. So how did Moth and Maple get started?
So it started because I really like the idea of Traveler's Company kind of journal with the inserts and the bands, and I was like, that looks really good. And so I got one, and the papers, when it gets too full, and I like a chunky journal, like stick out the sides. And that was driving me crazy. And then the back knot is in the back, so when you're writing, it's in the way for me. And that was driving me crazy. And I was like, okay, my brother taught me how to leather work a couple years before that. Before that, I was like, I'm just gonna get some of my leather that I bought already, and I'm just gonna make my own. And I had it. I made one for a friend just to have at the Atlanta Pen Show in 2025. And I had so many people ask me at the show, "Where did you get that? Where'd you get that?" And I was like, "Well, I made it." And by the end of the show, I had someone come up and actually hand me a piece of paper with their email address. And they said, "When you start selling them, I want one." And I was like, maybe I should be selling these. And so it's like I came home, I talked to my daughter, and she got in with, we decided to do it together, and we've been just sort of trucking along ever since.
No, and that's a kind of a cool origin story because travelers, because I dabbled years and years ago and doing similar thing. I wanted to make a journal cover, but I didn't necessarily want a traveler's. So that was the one and only pen show I've vended till now was actually leather journal covers at Arkansas in like 2015. But
Okay.
that style is pretty simple, but leather work can be it's not something everybody wants to get into. There's some special tools and stuff, as you know, that you have to kind of commit. But if you're already into it, making that and being able to customize and, make it personalized as a neat way. And travelers are sold out everywhere. I mean, it's hard for vendors to keep them in stock. So, places like you or other smaller leather workers are really getting to get some of that market share and that business because one, you can do it custom. You can do the colors that are not going to be one of those standard offerings.
Yeah.
And like you said, the knot in the back, that's a big factor for a lot of people that they don't like it because they don't like the bump on the page. And
Hmm.
being able to shift some of that stuff around really gives that flexibility. So you had already said you were into leatherwork a little bit. Did you have to learn any additional leatherworking side of things to get the business started? Or did you have to teach your daughter any, or was she already kind of dabbling into some of the leather stuff as well?
No, she was not. She was, I mean, kind of a little bit, but not very much. So yeah, I've had to teach her, and my brother's helped teach us both when we have a question because he's been doing it longer than I have, and so that's been, there's still some things I'm like, oh, I should have been doing this the whole time and I didn't realize, or like when you like learn the difference of like what sealants to use for different finishes, like some of that, you're constantly learning, and there's always constantly some new tool or something to add to your repertoire. So that's been a lot just because it's like you're constantly trying to stay evolving.
Now, it seems like that's common with any hobby, especially in the stationery hobby. There's always something new, a
Yeah.
new pen, a new ink, a new something that goes along with it. And leatherworking is the exact same way. There's always, oh, well, this will make it a little bit quicker and this will make the finish a little bit better if I do it this way. And it saves time, because time is money. It's interesting how that's just a common theme in hobbies in general. When you start making anything, there's always going to be, well, but this other tool will make this one part a little bit easier. So of course I
Yeah.
need to get that. And
Yeah.
then that leads down to the next one and the next one and the next one. And then end up with an entire shop of stuff that is very specialized, that it does one thing, but it does that one thing perfectly. And
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
you end up. But in terms of, because you kind of talked about how you got started with the traveler style,
Mhm.
you've expanded into other styles now. So how's that process worked for you to decide what all you're going to offer in your shop? And I think you have some examples. So this might be a time where you can show some of those things, like, of the pockets or the stitched or the other one. So just kind of talk through your process so far of, okay, I'm going to start making leather covers, but what else do I want to have and what styles do I want to offer in my shop?
Yeah, so the pockets came pretty naturally afterward. The sewing, the saddle stitch sewing is very zen. And so when you're stressed out or whatever, for whatever reason, that is just, you can fall right into that and just kind of everything else just goes away and you just be calm for a little while, which is really nice. And I like that because it allowed me to, again, I like my journals super chunky. I will show you because I have it with me. And I like the pocketed ones because I can throw in a lot. So I've got two full notebooks in there and they're in each side of the pocket. So I've got in one side, and then this has got the double pockets in it so that I have room for stickers and, anything else that I want to put through there. And so that came out of like a planner necessity for myself. And then once I made one, I was like, oh, well, now that I have one for my A5, I kind of want one for my Hobonichi Weeks. And I've never seen one with a pocket for Hobonichi Weeks except for the clear cover. And so I was like, I'll just make one for my Hobonichi Weeks. And it's sort of every time I make one for myself, other people are like, oh my gosh, that's cool. I want one. And then it just kind of cascades from there. And then this is the newest prototype, is to try to do rings with pockets. And so you've got both, and you can add, whatever you can put in the like Me Plus style paper or the plotter style paper in there, but then also have the pockets to stick a bunch of stuff into on the sides too. And so it's like every time we see something new, I'm like, oh, that would, I figure out I can do that. Like I can figure out how to make that work for myself and change it enough that it's, kind of my own and will solve a problem either for myself or a friend. And then it just kind of balloons.
No, and that makes sense because leatherworking is so versatile in what you can do. In the basics, it's a cover of something,
Yeah.
and getting it to having pockets or adding things like, you know, that's a commonly missed thing in the Me Plus or the style. There's not pockets. Some
Yeah.
people like the thin nature. Some people like, oh, I really want the ring bound system, but I want pockets because I want to be able to stuff stuff in there and not
Yeah.
have to have something taking up ring space. So that'll be interesting to see how that evolves because ring bounds are, that was the thing. Franklin Covey and Filofax back in the day,
Yeah.
and then Travelers took over, but now ring bounds are really coming back and making a resurgence. So that'll be great to see once you have that fully ready for prime time and start offering those for sale.
Yeah, and I've got, there's other ideas coming down with some of like the clip style where they come up with a clip instead of an elastic band. And so I've got some of those in the process of becoming prototypes. And so I was constantly just trying to find something that's will solve problems for people and make it easier for people to journal or to carry their stuff or to be organized. And so I really like that because it's so many times when you're like up in the air and you don't know what you're doing, to have something that you can just go to every day and just either unload or make sure you're organized is really nice.
No, and I'm actually going to shuffle around the questions a little bit because I think this is the perfect time to talk about one big thing that you're offering is you do commission work. So
Yes.
someone can reach out to you and say, I like this, but in my perfect world, it would be a little bit different like this. So talk
Yes.
about how your commission process works. And like if someone wants to reach, if they're listening to you on this episode and they're like, you know what? I want a version that from Moth and Maple because maybe Diana can make the version that fixes this one thing that I hate or just strongly dislike about something I'm using that would make it better. So How does a commission work for Moth and Maple?
So there's a commission tab on the website, or you can email me directly or Instagram message me, um, and let me know what you're thinking, and we can go. I'll go over what leather I have available, and then what what you're looking for, what the specifics are, like measurements. We made one special for someone with a different kind of techo style that was a little bit bigger than a Traveler's, but still smaller than an A5. And and then I had someone at the Chicago show wanted the Midori A7 with a thicker one. Doesn't have a cover. You can't get a cover for that at all. And so he brought it to us at the show. We measured it at the show. We made his little new one at the show, and he got to go home and have it, with them. And so like that was really fun to do, to be able to take something that they don't make anywhere. You can't find it, and to be able to make something for somebody they're going to go use every day. It's really good. And so yeah, anything people want, we've added pockets, we've added like passport style pockets in one where it's got like the card holders in it, like sewn in, so that you have places to put credit cards, so you can have your passport, like a real, like the travel passport, and all of your credit cards and stuff to make a full wallet out of it, for travel. It's just lots of little things like that we can do. And then I've also got like I can do the carving and the painting too. And so any of that kind of style, those are commissioned also, and we can, those can be from company logos to just, I want a really pretty flower. So and those are always really fun to do. I don't get as many of those as I wish I did, but yeah, they're fun.
Now, maybe this will be the sign for people to say, okay, I want this, but I want some sort of cool art carved into it. Cause that is one thing people if you're not familiar with leather carving, definitely go look at the pictures. It is its
Oh,
own separate type of art because you have a design, but to get all the raised textures and whatnot, it's really a different way of thinking to make it show up like you'd expect with the
yeah.
different tools and the techniques that are involved. It's a really cool thing. But in terms of commissions, I know I can speak to this because my wife has two or three of your notebooks now between the Arkansas and Atlanta shows.
Mhm.
And I think it was Atlanta where y'all were literally, she wanted a size, but with a different leather that you happen to have with you. So
Yeah.
she's like, oh, on the first day of the show, I'd really like that. And then it was made while at the show. And that's something a small maker like yourself is able to offer that a large company never would be able to, where you could say, oh, I don't have exactly that, but I brought stuff with me and we could literally make that, tonight in the room or while we're sitting at the table
Yeah.
and offer that. So, if you're at a show and Moth and Maple's there, definitely ask about that because that's a service that, like say, you might find a new notebook at the show and there's
Yeah.
not a cover option. Well, go over and ask. You might be leaving the show with a custom made with custom thread and custom
Oh
all the
yeah.
things, within that same show. And that's just a cool aspect that you're offering that you're not really seeing in many places.
Yeah, and any ones that I can drive to, we take the big punch with us, and so we can, if you had one that had pockets and didn't have the rubber bands, but you wanted the elastic bands in there, we can add the holes while we're at the show. If you want to have the belly band put on it, we can add that. And it's like if you want to change the colors of any of the strings, we always have all that stuff with us. Now, if I get to the point where I'm doing anything where I have to fly, that I can't take some of that heavier equipment with me, so we have to limit that a little bit more than I wish we would. But yeah, we really like doing that, and it's fun to get to, almost surprise people. Be like, "Oh yeah, I can have that for you Saturday morning," and they're like, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "That's not quite what I was thinking of." Okay, great.
No, but even if you are going to a show where you're flying because you do commissioned work,
Yeah,
you could literally talk about, oh, well, you like this leather here? Yes, I do have some more of that. And you want this thread. They can literally see all the options and then create their own and then, get it after you get back home and can make it. So once again, the customization aspect is a unique factor that definitely people should take advantage of because that's not something you can find everywhere. But in the shows you've done so far, what would you say are your most popular sizes or the leather styles that have been some of your best sellers?
so in Orlando last year was our very first show ever, and we didn't even have any kind of clue what to expect. And I have this vintage style leather that's like cow print. It's got the range markings and the natural patterning of the animal, which I think is really great. And we couldn't keep that on the table. I mean, it's sold out every time because we were making them there to try to keep some on the table. And it's like every time we'd make one, it was sold before we even finished making it. And then every other show, nobody's really picked that one up. And Quinn, my daughter, actually joked about, she's like, maybe they don't have cows in Florida because, there's the cow patterning that I've never seen it before. And so, it's just still being silly. But, and then we have a water buffalo. And at every show we've ever sold, we only ever sold one. And so I was like, well, I guess we won't ever stock that again. Nobody's been really interested in it. But in Chicago, we sold out. So it's almost like every show is a little bit different. And so I just sort of have to take a little bit of everything. I will say A5s sell way more than I ever thought they would just because they're bigger. But I guess partly that a lot of people don't offer A5 in a traveler style. And so maybe that's why they sell more, but they definitely sell more than I thought they would in A6 because I think those sizes aren't covered by some of the other like more mainstream or larger brands that those seem to be picked up more often. And then I've got people asking now for like B6 and field note size. And so we've been trying to add as people are interested. And we even made one in Chicago of the little tiny new Travelers company, like their little bitty new one that they've just put out. We
Yeah, the card
made
size.
one at the show for somebody who had bought one, but I have this purple leather. It's like brand new. And I actually had it with me there. And he was like, oh, okay, yes, please. And so, we measured and made and got that done too. And so it's, I feel like that size actually might do really well. So we're going to add that everywhere, including the website. Yeah.
No, definitely. And I can see though where regional preferences would really come in because leather is one of those things that, you could make 5
Mm,
and it's kind of like maker pins. Someone might like the range marks, someone might hate the range marks,
right.
but the next person walking up might go, oh my gosh. Because I know one of my first ones I made has the brand on it. It's a little
Oh,
field note
yes.
itch size. And I love that, but that's not for everybody. And
Yeah.
leather is each cut is going to be unique. So that's interesting to hear that water buffalo is like the preferred cover style of leather in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then it's like nowhere else wanted that style. So that's just interesting, but I can see where you'd have to kind of take a couple of things of each. And if nothing else, then the commissions can come in after the fact.
Yeah.
But I could see there's a lot more people talking about B6. I've heard B6 and B6 Slim are like kind of the next most popular size. They're gaining in popularity. So I could see those
Yeah. I
becoming good
actually went
sellers.
and bought a B6 Slim because I had like 4 or 5 people in Chicago ask for it and I'd never heard of it. I've heard of B6, but I'd never heard of a B6 Slim. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to get one so I can like look at it and measure and see what we need to do. And I was like, actually, this size is great. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm going to have to try B6 next year for something because it really is a good size. And so we're working on one for that too. But yeah, it's nice to be able to pivot because I think things come and go and people have, and things are more busy, they want something smaller they can carry with them. When things are a little less busy, they want a bigger one they can keep at home. And so being able to kind of say we have all of the things, you just tell us what you want and we can make it.
No, definitely. And just one thing to note, because this brought up the thought, because leather is like it is, there's not always a chance that you can get more of the same thing. So talk about that because I know you have some, I think one of the ones that my wife got, it's a unique leather with a finish that you might not have as a stock item on the website, but there might still be some left for a commission. So just talk about how that works for you because if someone sees something at a show, there's
Mhm.
not always going to be a chance of getting that exact same finish.
Right. Yeah. So this is the one that your wife got. And it's the pearl, like that was like a mermaid pearl. And it has this like hot pink, super soft suede extra pockets in it. And as of now, I have a few left. These will never go on the website. These are just for show or if someone contacts me specifically and asks for it. Um, I don't have any more of that leather left. So the ones I have made are really all that we have. And that pink, the hot pink, I cannot get again. Like they've already said that they will not be stocking that again. And so even if I might be able to get more of the pearl, I'm not 100% sure on that one yet, but the hot pink, I cannot ever get back. And so there are certain things that are nearly gone. I've got this fog blue that's my absolute favorite leather I've ever gotten, ever. But I found out it was a mistake. The color's a mistake. It wasn't meant to be that color, and they'll never have it again. I got this one off, and all of that's gone now too. The last one got commissioned at Chicago, and all of that leather's gone. And so I've got like two or three that are just left still that are already made. But yeah, when those are gone, it's really sad actually to see them go, because it's like that was my favorite. But yeah, so sometimes I can get them again and sometimes I can't. And so if it's kind of like, if you want something bad enough, don't wait, because or check with me. If it's something that we can regularly get, then that's not as big a deal. But if it's something then yeah, it's definitely not to wait on some things that are like the special edition stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the just, for people who are not familiar with how leather working, the tanneries and whatnot, you go to a store and there's some leathers you will be able to get from here until the end of
Yeah,
time because
yeah,
it's such a popular thing, like plain veggie tan or something like that.
yeah.
But some of the colors and finishes and styles, it seems like kind of like journal covers anyway. They do a small batch and see if it sells. And if it doesn't, it goes in the clearance bin. But some of my favorite leather from the past was always the clearance stuff because you're
Oh,
making small covers. You can find some really cool stuff in there at a great price. And it might not fit for another leather worker's needs, but it's perfect for like the pin sleeves or the smaller items
yeah.
that are offered up. So, in terms of you making the journal covers, but I want you to talk about one of my favorite things, and actually the only thing I personally own from you. Like I said, Beth has a few, your leather blotter sheets, because
Yes.
I have been a big fan of that. And I've been telling some people that, oh, yeah, Moth and Maple. And I even got Brad, the pen addict, to come buy one in Atlanta because I was like, man, these things are great. So, talk about those. And like, I believe you're going to be we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode, but you'll be doing a release soon, and some of those will finally be up on the website and not be a show exclusive.
Yes, yeah. So this is the A5 size, and they're cut to match, to go straight in to the A5 and like right to the edge, because I don't like the ones, there's so many that don't, they cut off. And then so if you're writing and you're using it as like at the paper backing, you come off that edge, and like some of those fountain pens, especially the extra fines, will just go right through the paper. And so I wanted one that came all the way over, and it's super thin, and it's got the shiny side on one side and it's got the matte on the other, and the blotter will work on either side. The shiny side is my favorite only because if I'm using it to like rest my hand on, it slides so easy as you're writing. It doesn't catch, and you can just kind of flow without having to like stop and move the paper around, and you just can. So yeah, I love them. They're going to go up on the website shortly, and I have A5 and A6 stocked, and if people want other sizes, we can make them. So it would just be a custom, like, hey, can you cut me a B6? And I have enough of that leather, I can cut quite a bit. So
No, it sounds like B6. You'll probably have to make one because I
yeah,
think that's going to be the size that,
we made
because I've
one
been
in
using,
Chicago.
yeah,
So
I could see that. I actually use it underneath for letter writing. Like if I'm out and about, I use it as like you said, putting it on the journal page because different papers, so you don't get the hand oils and it
yeah,
slides. And it's really not much thinner or not much thicker than regular blotter sheet, which is
right.
crazy, but it is leather and it absorbs great. Even with my, extra fine nibs, it pulls just stuff off if I'm using a wetter ink or a little bit wetter nib, but big fan of those. That was one of those things that I'd never even thought of. And now I'm like, that would be one of my list of my favorite adjacent items because I'm using it literally that much.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where some people, like I've been going to the bookstore bar lately and someone used it as a pen rest and they're like, man, I need to get one of those. That's one of the recent people asking like, hey, when are those going to go up on that website? Let me know once you
And
find out. So big fan of those. So in terms of, are you offering are you doing pen sleeves or anything else like that?
yes, so we've got pen sleeves that are just the like single pen sleeve. I'm actually working with the customer right now to make ones that have the full top that comes over with like a little suede thing to hold it, so it can hold. And those I can widen to hold up to 6. Really, that doesn't have to be limited to just one. And then we've got those pen sleeves, and then I'm actually have fabric. It's upholstery fabric and like the super soft, like crazy blanky fabric that I'm going to make some like almost like sleeping bags for pens. And so they'll have like be, really pretty on the outside, but they'll have like little snuggly blanket kind of like for your pens on the inside. So that's something I'm trying to prototype out and work on. And then my brother came up, he couldn't sleep one night and was like trying to figure out problems like, he can't sleep. And he came up with these, which are vial holders. So you can keep your samples up. And I like the ones like this that are the natural veg tan because as your ink spills or splatters or whatever, it's going to stain that leather and make it completely your own. And then we've got the colored ones too, like the green, and we got black and several others. And we had these in Chicago, and people really liked them. They thought they were really cute. And so we're going to do some more of those, and I think we're going to try to do ones that are taller to maybe be as like a pen holder also. So those will coming. And then we've got these two that we've made. So these are other vial holders, and then the middle section is the little holes are for converters or cartridges. So when you're trying to fill, you can have some place to hold up that because I can't tell you how many times I've knocked a converter over and it splatters every place. So, but yeah, so those are things, I don't know if the 3D printed ones will go on the website. Those maybe just for shows unless someone contacts me. But the leather cakes are going to go on the show or on the website.
Oh, very cool. And I like the idea of having something to put a cartridge in if you're doing syringe fills,
Yeah.
because that is the thing where it needs to be stable. You need that third hand to be able to hold it so that way you're not making a mess. So very, like you said, solving problems through something of this is a frustration of mine. Well, that's probably a frustration other people have. So let's see if we can turn it into a product that will actually help solve those problems. So in terms of shows, you said Orlando last year was your first one. What shows have you been to since then?
So we did Little Rock and our Arkansas Pen Show and the Atlanta Pen Show in March. And then we went to the Chicago Pen Show at the end of April, beginning of April, whenever, I think it was the beginning of April. This year has gone crazy by fast. And Chicago is the biggest one we've done. That's a lot bigger than it was a lot of fun though. It was a lot because it was really big, but it was a lot of fun. And we got to meet a lot of people who don't come further, some makers and stuff that are more from the northeast or even some of the northwest, and they come down to the Chicago show. And so it was really fun to get to meet, new people that we hadn't met in the shows that are closer to home.
And then what about shows you have upcoming for the rest of this year?
So we'll be back in Orlando in September, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll be in Dallas for the Dallas Pen Show. And then I'm looking at maybe a couple toward the end of the fall to see, if timing works or if there even is openings. And then we're going to try to add a few for next year too, and then still go to the ones that we've been to this year.
Yeah, because that way which leather preference. Don't take water buffalo unless you're going to Chicago.
Right. Yeah, and take a whole bunch of the vintage when we go back to Orlando this year.
No, that's really neat. So, but in addition to leatherwork, you've also started pouring blanks. So let's talk about that. How did that come to be? And do you have any examples of ones? I think you have a couple that are already been turned into pens that you might be able to show.
Yes. So that started because back a long time ago, my brother and I were like, we're playing D&D, being big super nerds that we are. And we're like, we're going to make our own dice. We can make our own dice. Why couldn't we make our own dice? And so we started pouring our own dice and making our own molds and all that for that. And so when the pen thing started, I was like, I could make my own. I know how to do the resin. I already have all of the mica powders and, colorant and, everything I need. So I already have the pressure pot because we needed all that for the, so it was like a natural progression from something we'd already done in the past. And so we just tried it. And of course, the first several attempts didn't do too great, but it's come a long way. And so, yeah, I've got 4 that I've had sort of test turned for me. This one is, put those down over here. This one is actually the very first blank I ever poured. And Maverick turned that one for me. And then they also turned this one for me, which is one of our newer ones.
Very cool.
So that one's, just to kind of see how we're progressing to do. And then at Atlanta, I gave Bart one of ours to turn for me, and so he turned this one for me from Zodiac. So he turned that as another test, and then Bone Crusher turned this one. So yeah, they've turned several. The shimmer is not showing up, but that's okay. And I've sold several more at the shows, and it's really fun. We're actually going to pour some more soon. And I wasn't sure if people would like them, but they seem to so far. And I've had even a couple of people that I know are like really good blank makers look at them and be like, yeah, no, these look like they're going to be viable. They're good. So it's been really a lot of fun. So I'm glad that we can kind of keep going with it because it's fun to do. And I wasn't sure if it was going to go anywhere, but it seems to be moving, which is good.
No, in blanks, if you think about it, as someone who's getting into the maker side, you want to have variety. And
Yeah.
every blank maker has their own angle that they approach it from and their colors or the backstory. So having different material, as long as it's structurally sound, that just adds to the, as I said a long time ago to somebody, you can have two people walk up and someone go, man, that's the worst pen I've ever seen. And the next
Yeah.
person's like, oh my gosh, that's the best pen I've ever seen. With the mixtures of blanks and how the materials come to be, everybody can find what is the right combo for them. They might be wanting to match a journal cover that they got 2 years ago and it's patinaed into a different color than exists or, something
Yeah.
like that. So that's a cool way to take something you already had of like the dice making and then turn it into the blank. So you're not wrong. It's a different shape mold and
Yeah.
it's doing the same thing other than that.
Yep.
So that's really neat to see. And then the fact that you've already gotten some pins turned out of it, that's a cool addition because then eventually you're going to have to start offering a blank and cover combo or something like that where you have, oh well, this is the perfect blank that'll match this, and then they could take it to the maker of their choice and get it turned into a pin. So a bunch of options there, potential ways that could become a cool combo option in the future.
Yeah, I've got I'm hoping that in the future there'll be some collaborations where I can do, make the blank or help do that, have someone make a pen, I do the pen sleeve and a journal and it just comes like as a set. I think that'd be really fun. So that may be something. It's kind of pipe dreams. So we'll see how that works out, but I think that'd be a lot of fun to do.
Now that sounds like it'd be a cool thing because once again, it's thematic. So you
Hmm.
have a theme and you could have this one's themed around a purple leather or this one's themed around a blue leather. And then because you're making the blanks, you can find some cool leather and
Yeah.
then make a blank to match, which is just a neat, once again, something that is custom, not just from the colors, but from the offering of someone who can do both. So you can truly get a good color match because we can all find stuff that's close enough, but that gives another level of color adjacency that you're not going to necessarily see in other places. So,
Yeah.
so we talked about shows. So I think we're getting to the point where just to ask kind of the final question that I ask everybody: what is next for Moth and Maple?
So we've got, the more shows coming. I've got several new leathers that we're working with. And like I said, the A7, I think we're going to try to pull in to the A7 and B6. I think we're going to pull those in. I'm still dabbling with the idea of a field note. So it's like if you get too many sizes, I feel like things suffer only because so some of those sizes may simply be a custom order. Like we have the template here, we can, measure it out and cut it out and have it the right size, but not have those really readily available on the website. And those are just a custom thing, just because it's a lot to kind of keep track of with inventory, if I have them all stocked at the same time. And then I've got this new leather is the coolest thing. And this is what I'm hoping to get a bunch of it. So this is actually blue leather, but it has this wax on the outside that as it wears, you can kind of see where I've been like wearing at it to test it. The wax will fade off. And slowly over time, the color will start to show. And so the patina on that is going to look so neat because everyone's going to be different because it's how you carry it. And I've got a blue, I've got a really beautiful, like bright camel yellow and a black. And I'm really excited about it because I feel like that's going to be something really different. I know I've seen one company has something very similar, but it's the only one, and that's the only place I've ever seen it. And so I'm excited to see how this will wear over time. So we're kind of testing it to kind of like wear it in and see so we can have like a before and after to see how it does. And that's like my favorite. And then the other thing we're trying to get to doing is making some of the embossed leather and then dyeing it ourselves so that we can customize. We did a one for a customer in Chicago where we custom dyed it with a custom dye color because I mixed it myself, and then pearlized the whole thing so that she had a completely custom journal. It was completely colored her own. It cannot be repeated because I don't even know what I put in to make that purple color we got. So it was a lot of fun, and I think that would be a really fun thing to do, to have where people can really kind of help make it their own and get involved in the process, which is a lot of fun.
No, and I think that's a great aspect where it's a collaboration with the person who is going to be using it. And that, once again, it's a unique offering that not everybody can do. That's where the small makers and small businesses like Moth and Maple can really shine through, and offering that level of true customization where it's a conversation, which becomes a product, which the product will have the longevity because it's made of leather and it's going to be made to last. So, Diana, thanks for taking some time. Obviously, we're a big fan here with Beth having 3 notebooks. We got to hang out some at the Arkansas show and the Atlanta show. So, big fan. And you're in the same state of Tennessee, even though
That's
you're in
right.
Memphis.
Yeah.
And for those of you in Memphis, I believe there's rumors that Diana might be helping to try and get a Memphis Pen Club going. Because I know there's quite a few people out that way who I know, and they all don't know each other. So a Memphis Pen Club needs to happen. So
Yeah,
try and get that links to that.
I'm actually working on making a Discord server so that we can at least start to kind of pull together a little bit.
No, that's great. So once again, we'll have links to Moth and Maple website in the show notes. We'll have link to the Instagram and things like that. So definitely reach out if you're going to be at one of the shows in the future, be it Orlando or Dallas or others that could be to come. Or if you want to do a commission, I think that'd be really cool. And definitely pick up the blotter sheets. Big fan. You will not be disappointed. They are great. So once again, thanks to Diana. Thanks to Moth and Maple for spending some time. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next episode.